So should I share my screen and shall we start?
Yeah, can you make it full screen?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we can start now. So, good evening, everyone. Thanks for taking time out. I hope I'm audible. I'm just doing a quick audio check. Yeah, great. So, thanks for taking time out and quick introduction about myself. I was working with Rakuten as product leader in Tokyo, Japan. But before that, I worked with Geo and have been a core member of Geo's product team, or I would say business crack team that actually launched Geo in India. And I've seen the entire journey from zero to 386 million users. Before that, I have spent a considerable amount of time in telecom and mobile space in product management. And I would say it was an accidental journey. I started as a product manager just because I got into that role during the recession time. And from there, I started loving this discipline. And I believe, it's a very noble discipline. And I'm sure you will agree with me because most of you would have exposure to some form of product management in your career, and I think it's noble profession because we are all creators. We are the ones who really create, and sometimes it feels like it's a thankless job because we have to get the job done from others who don't report to us. We have to maintain a lot of relationship with cross-functional members, and it looks like it is a thankless job, but it is a noble profession because when you see product getting launched, everything else, all the positives and negatives, everything disappears and your product is in front of you, and you see smile on customer's face, and that is the real reward that you get. So in today's session we are going to spend on few various interesting aspects. I'm going to share my perspective, and 30-35 minutes is not the right time to do justice to this profession, but I will share a few nuggets or few aspects of my experience and perspective on product management. And next slide, please. And I want to have some discussion also, maybe we'll open the forum to some questions, and we'll see how the cohort methodology or this program that Pragmatic Leader is going to launch, how it is going to help you guys who are in this profession, or you feel there are some gaps that can be filled through this particular session. So product management is both art and science. Why it is art? Because we have to think like designers. We have to be very creative in problem solving. You know, the quality of a product manager or quality of a business leader is decided based on the kind of problem they solve. So first of all, identifying customer problem and knowing customer very well is an art. And at the same time, it is also a science because there is a method to the madness. You can't say that I will do product management my way. There is always a process. You have to follow a process if you're working in, even if in a small startup or in a mid-size or large size company, you have to follow a process, and it has become very structured. There are tools now available which you can use to make sure that you get the maximum output and efficiency out of this process. And there are tools, and that is the reason this is a science, and it is evolving. That is another thing. Science always evolves. So so this is my first perspective, that it is both art and science. Next one. Yeah. So just like business, product management is also an infinite game. I was reading this book by Simon Sinek on the business is an infinite game, and I feel product management is a very central aspect of any business. Businesses cannot afford to not innovate today, irrespective of which field or which industry it is. Businesses have to innovate, and innovation comes only when you have a product management mindset. You find out a problem, you find out a new way of doing the same thing, and you need to productize it, and that is where product management comes. Now, If product management is core to any business and business is an infinite game, I believe product management also is an infinite game. You have to always improve. So if you are launching a product, you are focusing on that. But the moment you launch, the product is live in the market. You can't sleep. You can't say that, okay, my job is done now, I'm going to take rest. Because you're going to solve customer problems. You're going to look at the product evolution. You're going to look at product roadmap. And there will be numerous issues that will be raised in the product, and you have to solve that. There is no shortcut to that. So that is the reason it's an infinite game. And it requires a lot of boldness and courage to be in this profession. And that gets gets measured, and you get to know your real courage when the rubber hits the road, when the product is launched and you are standing there facing customer smiles or customer pains, and trying to solve that. And I've seen that personally at a very large scale with Geo and some of the other launches that I have been fortunately part of. And it really requires fortune and luck to be at the right time when those things are happening, when mega projects are getting launched and you are part of that, you're contributing to that. So that is what I'm going to share with you as part of the interactions that we are going to have as part of this engagement or this course. So, and just be on the previous slide only. Another thing which is important is in the infinite game is feedback. And feedback is a food for any product manager. And all the great companies, they take customer feedback or they take feedback from various stakeholders very seriously. So that is the reason feedback is a food for product manager. And feedback is, you need to build continuous loops, whether it is with customers, various stakeholders, technology partners. You need to constantly marinate these things and make sure that you have a healthy relationship with all the stakeholders. And that is the reason it's a continuous loop and infinite game. Next slide. Just like any other profession, it is an evolving discipline. So 5 years back, it was a traditional, or 5 or 7 years back, it was traditional stage gate Robert Cooper method. Then the principles of Agile and Scrum came in, and it started impacting that. Then we had design thinking, and now we have, and then 2 years back we had the role of data science playing a central stage in product management, and everything getting measured because the systems and tools have evolved. And these technologies now, product management cannot live without these technologies. And today we are talking about role of AI and how important AI and ML is as skill sets and as capabilities for a product manager to know. So it is an evolving discipline, and product management borrows a lot of science and studies from other fields. For example, uh, as a product manager, you need to interact with marketing team and do a lot of experiments, do a lot of rapid experiments. And I've seen personally in my life, in my product management career, that how important these small rapid experiments are, low cost experiments are. And whether it is a big company like Reliance Jio or small startup, experiments are very important, a critical component of a product management discipline. And we are also going to learn how to do this in a very quick, lean way. And ethnographic studies play a very important role in these disciplines. And ethnographic studies are not part of product management but has been borrowed from some other discipline. Similarly, subliminal marketing and neuromarketing and all those things, they are not core product management principles, but they have been borrowed. So that is the reason it's an evolving discipline. And whenever a discipline is evolving, we need to keep our eyes and ears open all the time. We need to have diverse reading behaviors. We need to make sure we are watching, we are interacting with different set of people so that we know and we learn from them and adapt those thinking into product management. And I believe when we learn in a group, when we interact with people and product managers from different industries and different discipline, the quality of learning and the magnitude of learning will be very different when we compare it with the classroom learning or learning with our batchmates from the same discipline. So if I have telecom experience and I'm learning product management with all the telco guys, I think my learning will be limited. But if I'm learning with people from pharma, from IT, from maybe mobility space or some of the other industries, online space, fintech, I think my learning will be immense. So that is what the beauty of such kind of setup is. Next slide. So successful product managers have the right skills, and they also showcase right behaviors. This is a very powerful statement. I actually wrote it in the morning. In my last 12 years of product management career, I have seen that apart from skills, the right behaviors are very important. So that makes a difference between a successful product manager and a normal regular product manager. And that is my role, to make sure that you get the right behavior. What kind of behavior I have showcased in my previous career and that have made me successful, I want to make sure that I share those behaviors with you, those learnings with you, and in the form of a storytelling approach. And that is what the value addition I'm going to bring. In terms of the skill sets, just go to the next slide. In terms of the skill sets, these can be learned on your own also. So let's see what those behaviors and skill sets are. So these are the three components. You have behaviors, you have skills and tools. Now when I say behavior, the first and foremost thing that comes into my mind is critical and creative thinking. Now, most of us, we are great thinkers. That is the reason we are in product management discipline. But there is always scope to improve it. We need to learn various mental models, various approaches and capabilities to think in a very critical and creative way. And there are tools that we will discuss as part of this engagement where you can think critically and think out of the box. That is very important. Second is trend watching, making sure that what are the key trends that are directly or indirectly shaping up and can impact your product in your industry. Another thinking is called second order thinking, or another behavior is called second order thinking. Most of us are first order. I myself, I'm a first order thinker, means I just have a cause and effect relationship when it comes to problem solving. But sometimes we also need to think about effects of effects, and that is what second order thinking is all about. Stakeholder management, people management skills are very important. Reality distortion means, rather than having a substandard solution to a problem or a product problem, you look at the most optimal end solution and work backward. That way Steve Jobs used to say that. And that is again a skill that can be learned, and there are principles now, there are methods and tools available to actually learn. These are all soft skills, and that is very important to learn. And that can be learned. We will find out, I'll explain you the ways it can be learned. And the most critical is ownership mindset. How you think end to end, how you think, how you have compassion for your customer. You start from the first step of your customer engagement or interaction, and are able to think all the steps, and all the steps and their transitions in your mind, and then take the end to end ownership of product delivery. So that is the most critical skill, I would say. But the other behaviors are also very important, and we are going to look at that. In terms of skills, I'm sure you know most of them, starting with the writing skills for writing product requirement, user stories, and epics. Then comes the UI/UX design principles, incorporating design thinking into your UI/UX, and finding out what is the right UX or what is the wrong UX, what is the right color schemes to be used, creating a solid product strategy, and making sure that you are updating that product strategy and linking it with your product roadmap, creating go-to-market plans, a very 360-degree go-to-market plans involving sales, marketing, customer support, and a couple of other aspects. Then comes your pricing and value proposition, KPI creation, and rapid experimentation, definition of MVP, creating interactive customer journeys, very detailed customer journeys, which make sure that you don't leave any kind of corner scenarios in your customer experience design. So these are the skills that we are going to cover as part of this engagement. But the other important aspect is that you will be learning these skills. There are great videos as part of this course, and you are going to learn these skills and tools. But another thing that you're going to learn is these behaviors, how you can showcase those behaviors. Next slide. Yeah. So skills you can learn through online resources, video courses and all, and your own experience also. You need to actually develop those products to experience that kind of a skill, to hone that skill. But when it comes to behaviors, just go to the next one. When it comes to behavior, you need to it takes time to develop, and you need those specific opportunities. You need those specific opportunities to learn that behavior, or to specifically showcase that behavior, to be in that particular situation. And sometimes you don't have that situation. Now how you can fast track it is, where you learn from a person who has already been there, done that, and seen that behavior, and we then see that behavior get or replicate that behavior in the form of case studies. And that is where we are going to come together and have this kind of a joint learning. And I'm also going to learn a lot of things from you, because when you are going to give those answers to various case studies, you're going to solve those case studies. I'm going to learn a lot of things from you as part of this interaction. Yeah, next slide. So if you have any gaps in these behaviors that I've shown and the skills, that is the objective and the mission of this particular engagement, to bridge those gaps. This will be done through case studies and experiential learning from me, as well as all the group members and the peers that are going to be part of this group or cohort. So in a nutshell, this is all. I just wanted to use this to share my perspective, and I will request Talvinder to come and share more details with you about the cohort, and then we can have a questionnaire session.
Hi.
Hi, Talvinder. Hi.
Yes. So I was just answering a few questions on the chat, and got called upon the podium. Satinder, thank you so much for the wonderful, quick walkthrough of the product journey. I certainly agree with pretty much everything that you mentioned. Like it's a art meets science. I personally also accidentally stumbled upon this entire field. I was like a generalist who knew a lot about a lot of things, but didn't know a lot about, like, deep enough in anything. And I accidentally landed up in product management. I discovered that why the hell I didn't think about this earlier. Because this is like the perfect field if you are generally a curious person, if you're generally somebody who loves solving problems, and who wants to lead and solve problems. You'll be solving problems pretty much any discipline. But in this particular one, you really get tested for being a leader, and truly a leader. That is why I don't like the term product manager also. Because manager, by definition, means somebody's reporting to you. Nobody's reporting here. So you really need to be influential, and you should have the right communication skills and the right, I should say, uh, knowledge base, so that you can truly work with anyone and everyone. In one moment, you will be talking to the CEO, talking about, let's say, 30,000 feet view, discussing the next 2 quarter plan, and the very next moment you're sitting with a QA figuring out why this bug is bugging you right now. Right? It's an incredible shift from top to bottom, and for anybody who has traveled in any fast enough vehicle or a plane, or even a fast enough roller coaster, this journey every day is a roller coaster. It's too many G forces acting on you every hour. If only there was a metric for that, that would have been great. Um, so, folks, I think so. Satinder has mentioned about the cohort and the program that we run. It's our 14th cohort that is coming up. We pretty much pioneered the entire case study based learning approach. We personally don't. I personally have learned everything by doing. Okay. And I've learned a ton of things, right from coding to design to pretty much anything that I've done. I've learned by myself or by taking help from mentors. Thankfully, I got a lot of good mentors in my life, and I did things. I got scolded by my mentors, got ton of critical feedback, and that's how I kept on improving, right? And that is when I decided to launch this program and Pragmatic Leaders. I decided that no more videos, no more lecture baji and nothing like that. We're going to make people solve things. It's going to be intense. It's going to be bang on, and it's going to give results. That's it. Nothing fancy, no degree, no certificate. Like, we do give a certificate for your effort, but we categorically decided not to work with universities, not to work with colleges, because honestly, no offense to anyone, but uh, you know, ultimately there is a lot of huge latency between what colleges are teaching and what colleges are producing versus what industry is looking for. There's a huge difference, right? Both in terms of pedagogy as well as the learning, as well as what they are actually teaching. They want to do good job. Professors are beautiful, lovely, but not applied for a fast evolving field like product management, unfortunately. Um, so, which is why our focus is way more on. I mean, it's a very simple, very simple ideology. Industry like Satinder, if I have to send some people for Satinder to hire for Rakuten, for example, he's going to look for, are you a problem solver and critical thinker or not? Simple. Can you really solve problems, and can you really think critically? Can you really come up with good ideas? And that doesn't come by watching lectures or watching videos. Okay, that comes by actually solving things, by solving problems. By solving problems, you become a problem solver. As simple as that. And which is why in our program we made it particular that you like it or not, you start every day by solving problems. You solve cases, you get feedback from your mentors, you get feedback from your peers, you learn something, you get frustrated in the first couple of weeks. Definitely, I am like, I can guarantee you that first couple of weeks you'll be frustrated. Okay, I know jack shit about things that they're asking me to do, but that's how you learn, right? Second week, third week, that is when you start developing those muscles that, okay, yes, I know stuff and I'm able to, you'll start getting small wins, and eventually by the fifth week, you're like, yes, I know stuff. I can hold my conversation. I can actually reply to people. And by the sixth, eighth week, you will be like, yes, I can solve problems. Yeah. And I can start thinking in the first order, second order manner, as Satinder did mention. Yeah. So that's all the program all about. And this program has given tremendous amount of results. About 79% success place. When I say success, it means placement result. That's how we count. That's all that we care about. So 79% placement success is pretty incredible, given that the industry average is about 40% approximately. Even if I round it up, it's about 40%, and we are at 79%. Our students typically get a job within about 5 months approximately. Get a job or whatever the goal they came in for. Majority of them come for jobs. It's about in 5 months, while the industry average is about 8 to 10 months. So we are able to produce good product managers in half the time at double the rate. And I think that speaks volumes for what we have been doing. In fact, last week itself, 2 of our students got placed. And the best part is about 95% of these students are not from the typical product background that they could easily get in a product role, or came from an Ivy League college. And that was by design. We were in the first batch, we got a lot of Ivy League students, which was great, but that also didn't give me enough data as to whether my program is succeeding or they are succeeding on their own. Yeah. So that's our story in a nutshell. We do not do any marketing. We don't do any press. We don't do anything, because we believe our program and our students speak for itself. And that's how we are. If you speak to us, you will get to know. I would love to take questions on product, on Pragmatic, on anything under the sun. Okay. So Vigya has a question. What approach or roadmap you will suggest for those aspiring to make a transition into product management from a different field like consulting? So there have been some students in the past who came from consulting background and came from Accenture, came from some similar companies. When I say Accenture or not, they came from Accenture strategy and not from the IT vertical. See, fundamentally, when it comes to any kind of transition, and I've written about this in sometime in the past, when it comes to transition, in my mind, there's always, you need to first decide on what you want to pick, which is, you need to pick 2 out of the 3 options. Either you have to optimize time, the effort, or the money. How much do you want to invest in terms of time, money, and effort? You can't optimize all 3. You can't get you cannot get everything without putting in the effort, without putting in the money, without putting in the time. Yeah, you need to put all 3, right? But you need to pick. Do you want to reduce the effort? Do you want to reduce the time? Do you want to reduce the money? And you need to pick only 2. So either you can reduce the effort by putting in the time and money by taking up a course. You can reduce the You can say that, okay, I don't mind putting in a lot of effort and time. Go the self-study route, which a lot of people are doing, right? But self-study is dependent on, especially in a field like product management, which is very ambiguous. Like unlike coding, for example, or design, where what you're producing is very tangible, right? It's very tangible. You can actually show it to somebody and get a very tangible feedback. Product management is a very ambiguous, very amorphous field. So self-study is great, provided you have a circle around you who can give you feedback, right? So if you have friends of friends who are comfortable, who you can bug every week and get some feedback, great, right? Put in self-effort, put in self-study, put in the time, and you will get there. Okay. Third option is, obviously, you can optimize the time, in which case pay in a mentor, put in the money and invest in money and the effort, mentor and you will come together and you will study and you will be able to achieve what you're coming to. So I think that's the fundamental thing that you need to figure out, that what do you want to invest in and what do you want to not invest in. Once you've done that, after that, there is plenty of roadmaps. Start with the basics. If you are going the self-study route, there is a bunch of courses. In fact, LinkedIn Learning also has some free courses available. You can go through that. They'll give you some high-level view of what things are. Try to start solving problems. Try to start solving cases. There are not much cases out there in the open, unfortunately. But you can start questioning things like, why Swiggy introduced this? Why is Paytm is doing that? Why Zomato is announcing this at this time? Why Instagram doesn't have a chopping feature even now? Like, why can't you, like, why can't you crop a square image on Instagram, for example? Or why WhatsApp is doing ABC? Start questioning and try to formulate your opinions, get feedback from people, put it up on LinkedIn, but please do not make it cringy like what a lot of people have done on LinkedIn nowadays. Becoming very, like, don't become a storyteller. I walked into a bar and I saw this and then I saw something. Like, don't do that. Just ask a straightforward question that, hey, this is what I observed, this is what I think. What do you suggest? And there are ample, helpful, non-cringy people who will give you answers. I think that's a very good start. Uh, your journey, Satinder.
Yeah. I would just like to add, and some of my friends, I've seen some of my friends as well as colleagues who are great product managers. They came from consulting background, and
Right.
that transition. Sometimes that transition happens naturally because you are in a company. Let's say you are in Accenture and you are in Accenture Consulting, and Accenture also has a digital arm where they build products. So that's one part. But otherwise, consultants already have a very wide horizon. So they have a wide view of thinking. At the same time, their thinking is very structured, and that becomes a very strong skill for product managers. Now, the only thing they need to do is that, and I've seen, no offense to that, but that profession, but consultants as a profession, you keep moving from one project to another project. But whereas product managers, they are, for short term, they're married to that product and they have to see the end to end life cycle. They're responsible for P&L, onboarding, and all those things. So if you marry the skills of a consultant, and then if you already have the skills of a consultant and that structured thinking, and you learn the product lifecycle management and the tech skills which are required to develop a product, and do it one or two times, I think you will become a great product manager, because the baseline is already there. Mostly what
Correct.
happens is we become product manager, but we are not able to think critically and in a structured way. So
Correct. Yeah, I think consulting forms a very good. It's a very good segue into product management. A lot of my friends are from the Big Four or similar consulting firms, and they have moved into very, very strong, promising product management roles. Okay, next question is, by the way, if we have not covered your answer in fully and you want to address it further, you feel free to reach out to us. We are fairly reachable, both of us. You can reach out to us on admissions@pragmaticleaders.io or support@pragmaticleaders.io. My email is talvinder@pragmaticleaders.io. We'll drop in an email with all of these contact points. So feel free to reach out to, if you like Satinder more, I will not take offense. You can reach out to him directly. So Aman has a question: is SQL, SAS, or any other software required for product development? So see, SQL is a database, right? It's a database query language. Okay, it's a language. SAS is a business model. So you would require you need to be literate in software. You don't need to be coder to become a product manager. You need to be literate enough that you are able to figure out. You should be able to do basic SQL. You're not expected to be like SQL ninja or anything. You need to understand how SaaS business models work and what are the levers, what are the moving points and gears and pulleys of SaaS, so that you are able to make ends meet. And similarly, there will be other softwares that will be required. But honestly, while it's only in the past couple of years that a bunch of product manager friendly products are being made for product managers. Till about 3 years back, the only tool that product managers had who made tools for everybody else was Excel, pen and paper. That's all. That's all we had. So you'll make roadmaps in Excel, you make bloody everything in Excel. That's all we had, right? But we're making the most awesome products for everybody else. So yes, you will need some softwares, but nothing groundbreaking. Even if you don't know anything, I mean, even if you don't know any specialized product, it's okay. Yes, you will have to be, especially if you're doing a B2B or any consumer facing product, B2B or B2C, you will have to be good at analytics. Okay, web, mobile, or generally object analytics, you need to be good at that. Okay, which basically means you need to have basics of maths in place, you need to have basics of statistics in place. You don't have to be math ninja, but basics have to be there.
Yeah, so you don't. So just adding to that, you don't need to be an expert in a technology, but you need to be technology aware. Means you need to know what these jargons are, and slightly more than just knowing jargons. But so that when you are in a discussion or in a technical discussion, and you are just being there as an observer, or you are on your in your weekly Scrum meetings or sprints, you are just being there to observe. You know what is technical team talking and what kind of challenges they are facing, because sometimes teams will come and say, okay, this is not doable because of this technical reason, or for some other constraints, and at that point of time they look up to you, and they look up to you for a solution. So you need to be technically aware, or you need to know that what is the next step, what are the options that you have to solve this problem. You are not going to solve the technical problem, you're going to solve it in a business way, but should know what is the reason and the root cause for that problem. So technical awareness is more important than technical skill, and none of us can be technically skilled in all the technologies. It is changing so fast, but if you are aware about the basics of database, then it doesn't matter which SQL version is being used. You just know basics of database, and kind of every day we are getting open source new database solutions, so we don't need to know that. We just need to know what kind of database basics are there, and we will be able to sail through with that kind of awareness.
Correct. Akash, is a very interesting question. This is a short-term course. Do you think this would be sufficient for a person to develop those behavioral skills, innovation, and out-of-the-box thinking? Okay. So Akash, innovation and out-of-the-box thinking, being such a fancy words, honestly, and innovation, honestly, has been abused so much. Like the word innovation has been used like willy-nilly by anyone and everyone. That I think for some people, innovation has lost its meaning, and for some people, innovation has become a very thing of the elites. That okay, this person sleeps and he pukes innovation, right? Like right, yeah, he will just wake up someday and he'll come up with a blazing idea and suddenly think. Because I think the biggest role model, or you can say the biggest personality that people connect with innovation is Steve Jobs. And people believe that he just emerged from his grave every day and he came up with a brilliant new idea. Interestingly, every little thing that he produced was actually a rehash of an existing idea.
Yeah.
Everything that Apple has done is actually a rehash of a existing idea, which was done better by them, right? So innovation, if you really remove the jargons and remove all the business speak and everything, it's a simple thing of systematically identifying the target audience needs and then approaching to it, removing all the constraints and all the baggage that you have. That oh, if they don't like it, what will happen? Oh, if they don't pay for it, what will happen? Oh, if they if we are not able to sell, then what will happen, and so on and so forth, right? If you can shed all the baggage aside and simply look at what do our users need. They want a faster shave. What will you make? You'll make a better shaving machine, or let's say a better shaving blade. Okay, two Sardars talking about shaving is not the right example to give, but you get the point, right? So Similarly, out of the box thinking, it's again a very systematic approach where if I have to come up, for example, I'm not sure how many of you people really think about things like why Swiggy introduced what was the name of the product? I'm forgetting the name of the product they introduced, but it was meant for meal for one. So you can pay. They had already pre-curated set of meals which you can just pay, which you can just order. You don't have to select anything. It was already curated and it was already put together for one person, right? So why did they come up with that, right? And Zomato copied it, by the way, later on, which is called very creatively Meal for One. That is the name of the product for Zomato, right? Um, so you may say it's not out of the box thinking, but in my mind, it's actually out of the box thinking because it requires a lot of effort. If you realize it, it's a lot of effort to sit down, curate meals after meals from restaurants, get them on board, get them to sell a preset number of meals every day, and it was meant for people who were ordering during lunchtime, right? It was meant for people who were ordering during lunchtime, and it was proving to be too much of a pain. It was a selection decision paralysis that used to happen when you see so many restaurants. Today, let me try something else. Today, let me try something else. Oh shit, this is beyond my budget, right? So if you pre-curate it, that should lead to faster checkouts, which should lead to more app opens every day during the afternoon, which is amazing. That's the metric that they're looking to move. As a product manager, that is how you'll start thinking. And when you start thinking like that, you realize actually out of the box is a very boring thinking because you are literally going very systematically. You're going, okay, what do we do to increase the app opens every day? People order lunch, and right now lunch ordering is very painful. What do we do to make it easier? What do we do? Let's make it for one because most people order one meal, and I'm sure they have enough data to actually check this out, right? And then you realize it was actually not out of the box thinking. This sounds very logical, right? But right, so in the course, this is what we do. Like we try to make this very amorphous terms, innovation out of the box thinking, to a very systematical, logical approach that, hey, this is what you need to do. You have a very clear goal. I want to move this metric. What do I do? There are 5 different ways that you can do it, right? Which of this will actually lead to a reasonable outcome? And then you do it. That's it. That's how it is. But yes, dividing, first of all, identifying which goal to move, which metric to move, and then what are the different ways to move it is not easy. That doesn't come easy. And that's what we essentially put in all the hard work to teach you.
Yeah,
Satinder?
just adding to that, I think innovation, out of the box thinking, yeah, these are the buzzwords everybody wants to, put into their hat. But important point is, end of the day, anything that makes you a more mature person, a more mature product manager, and helps you simplify things as you grow in your career. What I've seen is that the most sophisticated product leaders, or senior leaders, they think in first principles. They think very simple, and they think they think from a customer's perspective, and it's a very, very difficult skill to acquire. But somewhere you have to start that. And if we don't have that skill, then there is a ways to deliberately practice it, so that you develop that habit. So while it's a short course, but I see it like, there are 12 to 13 opportunities to interact. So once we learn a tool or a model and we are able to try 2 or 3 times, I think that gives an opportunity to start. And then I am not saying that this course or any other course is going to make you a perfect person. This is a
Right.
process. This is a first milestone, or maybe for some of you, second milestone to start and hone your skills. But it gives you something which is experiential. At the same time, there is a method to the madness that we are going to bring, and there's an opportunity to try it out in a very low risk environment. So if you try it out in your job, you probably don't get that opportunity because the stakes are too high. But if you try it out in a case study format in your peer group, and a cross functional peer group, so I think there is a significant merit to try it out. Like, I'll give you an example. I was always an introvert in my college till my management degree also. But when I got this job in product management, I realized that I have to go and speak every day and interact with people. So I started deliberately putting effort in becoming an extrovert. And today I don't shy. I'm If I go to any room, I make sure that I take the center stage. So it is important, and that has come because I started somewhere, and I deliberately started putting effort in how to bridge this gap from being an introvert to extrovert. And trust me, I've read a lot of self-help books and everything, and I picked up the best nuggets out of that, and it really helped me. The same thing is with innovation. So it is not that one size or one particular tool will fit all the innovation capabilities or one innovation scenarios. You probably need to learn few tools and create your own approach. But once you start learning these tools and developing it, you are already into that realm of innovation, right? So that is what
So,
our objective is, to make sure that you get into that direction. We are not saying that you will reach in 3 months. Some of you might reach, but the objective is to give you the right bus and the right seat. It will take time to reach the destination.
correct, correct. Like I said in the very beginning, it's a journey, right? It's a journey. So depending on, you can go from one point A to point B by taking, by walking, by taking a cycle, by taking a car, or even taking a helicopter. Depends on how much time, how much effort, how much money do you want to invest in that. As simple as that. By the way, this short-term course that we're talking about, that has produced the results that we're talking about, right? In fact, this, because we got good results, we ended up producing the only, building the only income share agreement based program in product management. Nobody in the entire world is doing this. Okay, we are the only ones who are doing income share agreement in product management. It's a very difficult field to crack. Let's be honest. So seeing the good results, we did this. Yeah. Anyway, next question is from Swate Rao. Can you explain reality distortion inversion with an example? Satinder, would you like to take that?
So I think I missed that. Can you repeat the question? I'm just reading it right now.
The question is, can you explain reality distortion
Okay.
with an example?
With a
With an example.
with an example. Okay. So reality distortion is an interesting concept, and it is again a behavior. I won't say it's a tool or a skill, but it's a behavior, and it got popularized by Steve Jobs. The objective of reality distortion is that you are living in a reality, and when you see reality, you are constrained by what you see around you. What kind of resources you have. So for example, this started when Steve Jobs or Apple were basically designing the iPod. So in when the iPod design was happening, so Steve Jobs said, the design team came and said, okay, this is the size of iPod, this is the capacity of iPod, and this is the design. Then he said, okay, I don't want this. I want a design which is so small that it can fits into my pocket, or maybe lesser than that. So he reduced the design to, I think, one half or one third of that. So he distorted the reality. People said how it is doable, and he said, okay, this is my design. You go back and you do solve the engineering problems by working backward, by working in an inverse way. And that is what reality distortion is. And our chairman in Reliance also, I personally face the same thing. He once said that we should have 100 million subscribers in 100 days. Can you imagine? The even WhatsApp never had 100 million subscribers in 100 days, and Reliance Jio had that vision. And this was a distortion of reality for us, because we were thinking like we'll do 50 million in 1 year, or maybe that will be a good target, because Airtel has done 400 million in 20 years. But we had that, that distortion of reality was done, and then entire organization started thinking about that, and 170 days 100 million happened and became a world record. So that's the reality distortion. And I have multiple examples where I've seen senior leaders coming into a room and distorting the reality and going back, and suddenly it's like a shock for a product manager. How can this happen? But once you get that shock, you are in a different realm, and then you work backward and say, okay, what is required to do it? And that is what the inverse thinking is. Don't go with substandard solutions. There is a perfect solution that has been designed, or the target has been given, the goalpost has been designed, and you work backward in that.
Correct.
Sometimes it fails also. Sometimes it is too ambitious. The reason is, why companies like Apple and Reliance can do it, because the resources are there, because that willpower is there, the courage is there, the teams are there. But if you are in a small startup and say, I want to change the world tomorrow, suddenly these things will not happen. So you need to be realistic, but at the same time realistic in your resources, but make sure that the targets are in a different reality.
Correct. Um, um, I had a good fortune of meeting Mukesh Ambani early in my career for a few times. And actually, you know what? I was more impressed by his right hand man, who is Manoj Modi.
Yeah.
Satinder would know. Incredible guy, like a very
So
unassuming guy.
I happened to work with both of them very closely, and in 2014, when we were, creating the Geo plan, he had a vision that voice will literally become free, and Volti will be the technology that the Geo runs today will be the future. And Volti was not heard in the world, and it was not a perfect technology. Even AT&T and Verizon were not very confident, and Geo did that, and it is all because of his effort and his deep thinking into that.
Absolutely. So I think for those who don't know, read up about Manoj Modi. He's a very, very recluse man and very unassuming guy. Honestly, you will not, if he's standing in front of you, I don't think you will even realize that he's Manoj Modi. He's that unassuming. But he gave me some very, very amazing advice. And he said that and that is very similar to what, I mean, that's a very great example of reality distortion. So we were talking about some investment in an education venture like 10 years back, 11 years back. So he said, this is great. Like it was ahead of its time, it was ahead of its time. We were doing what Byju's later started doing. We were doing that in 11 years back, 2009. He said, this is all great, this is all good, but come back to me. He didn't invest, but he said, he come back to me when you can actually take this to every single person who eats peanuts in India, which is pretty much everyone. So till you do not have a solution for that, Reliance is not the right partner for you to have. And that baffled us like nothing. Like we were so over the moon that yeah, everything is sorted. We are doing big bucks. Like within a couple of years, we were doing like $2-3 million ARR, which was incredible 10 years back, right? Sitting in India, we were doing that. And here's this one guy who's saying when you can sell it to every single person in the like in the entire of the country, that's when you come back. It baffled us to know. And right from the maker's chamber to the Andheri, when we were traveling back, we couldn't stop thinking. And for the next 2 weeks, we couldn't sleep. And then we came up with some other idea. I mean, we innovated on the idea, and then we were able to execute it faster, which led to that 2-3 million, $4 million ARR in that couple of years, right? So anyway, uh, so have you had anyone? Next question is from Shreya. Have you had anyone coming from pure academia and make a transition product management? Shreya, can you explain what do you mean by pure academia?
Hi, Shreya here. By pure academia, I mean someone who's been into a teaching profession all his career, and probably like me, I have been teaching for the past 9 years, and I've been teaching management. So, would that be a possible move to make a move into product management? And do you think that my skill sets could be applied anywhere and would be helpful?
Um, okay. Uh, since you said management, I think there is going to be, at least theoretically, a lot of stuff about about management, all the different aspects of management, which is a core part of product management as such, or product manager as such. One key thing you might be missing out is actually applying those concepts in a realistic scenario, right? So. If you can pick that up, you can transition. We have seen people transitioning from completely unrelated field, like sales, for example. We have seen people becoming product managers, that too at Hotstar and similar companies. So in your case, it is still not completely unrelated. You understand the concepts, you know the concepts, and you've been teaching them. So you know them pretty well. Just that you don't know, you perhaps do not know. Okay, I'm not going to presume here. You perhaps do not know where to apply what, right? There are a few areas where you can perhaps jump in where people will really appreciate you. For example, at Pragmatic itself, we would appreciate your background a lot because you come from an instructional background. We are an edtech company. So your background as a product manager with the teaching background will be very relevant for us, right? So this is one of the ways that you can start exploring what kind of companies you will be appreciated at and will like your background. And then once you become a product manager at a company like us or similar any company, then it becomes then the world opens up for you, right? But yeah, happy to chat one-on-one later on. I mean, I'll be able to perhaps help you out.
Yeah, I
So
think that would be really helpful. Thank you so much.
yeah, just drop me an email. The email is posted by my
Yeah,
team.
I do have your email. I'll do that. Thank you so much.
The next question is by Akash. How much technical skills we need to have as PM, considering we have to interact with architects, developers on a daily basis? Okay. I have worked with some of the smartest coders and developers and architects and whatnot. And I am, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, I think I'll be at 3 or 4. Okay, in my technical skills. I can't code. I can code, but yeah, I can't code to that level. I can put some HTML and CSS together. I can put some PHP together. I can put some JavaScript together. But I'm very literate when it comes to technical concepts. I do understand cloud. I do understand APIs. I do understand how search works, how indexing works, how latency works, why latency. I know exactly when I type a search keyword, I exactly know what is happening on my browser, what my laptop is doing, how it is connecting to the router, how the router is connecting to the ISP, and everything else. So I know how the byte is moving. I exactly know that. So yeah, so I'm literate that way to become dangerous, but I am beyond that. I don't know much. Satinder, what do you think?
Yeah, I think again, I just answered that. I think in the previous question that you need to be technically aware, and it is again, as I said, that product management is not it's not an own discipline. It has a lot of borrowed. It borrows a lot of things from other disciplines, and technology is one of them. So if you ask me today, also I take a lot of courses. I take courses and I take a lot of these YouTube videos also from various experts, just to know, like what Talvinder said, cloud is one aspect. And I can say that no product manager, even the person who is working in Google Cloud, can say that they are the expert in clouds. So there's new things happening, there are new use cases coming, so you need to be constantly need to have the skill to learn and think. That is more important than saying that I need to be I need to have specific technology skills. If you have the right attitude to learn, whenever a new technology comes or whenever something new comes, just to go and read about it and watch some basic videos, I think that should be enough. Because when you start working on a specific product assignment, you then need to go deeper into see that and then understand. For example, in my previous experience, I was leading some of the sales and distribution initiatives in Geo. I had no experience in SAP. I had no experience in SAP material management modules and couple of the SAP modules. Not at all. Never in my career I have seen SAP. So what I did, I went to I took some online courses about SAP. I purchased some books. Just went through over a weekend. Not that I want to take an exam on SAP, so that I can start understanding what are the technical jargons people use, so that technical teams don't fool around. Don't say that this cannot be done. Well, in best of interest, people don't do that. But sometimes, if there is a real constraint, even the technical person doesn't know. But if I have a helicopter view, I have a high level 40,000 view of the subject, I can just guide that person. Why don't you go and search this out? Why don't you go and see this resource? You might find a solution. So that kind of knowledge and expertise is required. I am not an SAP expert, but I still got my job done in my previous career.
Interestingly, I also have a very similar nightmarish experience of SAP and Salesforce. So I had joined Oyo as product head for the upcoming Oyo flagship, which became whose first product was Oyo Townhouse. So that was like I was behind the scene, building the entire software architecture to run the hotels. Uh, so I being coming from a very different world, for me, SAP and Salesforce were like dinosaurs, right? And I entered, and the first thing that was essentially offloaded to me was, okay, here is SAP, here is Salesforce. We need to get this all the automation done for financial transactions and some shit, and figure it out. I have no idea at all. Exactly like Satinder, I have no idea what is SAP and what is Salesforce, and like I know what they are, and I know that there are tools that I should be away from. But here I have to like really code it out, and I have to like make all of these complex financial alchemy to work together. But then, yes, I ended up doing very similar stuff to him. So I ended up doing two things. One, because I had to ramp up my learning very fast. So I ended up doing two things. One, I went to YouTube, hunted out some SAP and Salesforce fun days of exactly what are the jargons, what are the terms, what are the architecture, what the hell is that, right? That was one thing. The second thing, I took the there were some third-party implementers, for SAP and Salesforce. That's their business model, effectively, right? So I took them out for a beer. Nobody else gave them too much, respect in the organization. I thought I will give them. I took them out for a beer, took the download for like a good 2 weeks, and then I was able to help out and figure out the niggles, because the Salesforce team was not talking to the SAP team, the SAP team was not talking to our internal team, so it was a mess. There was a lot of miscommunication. So I had to become the central spoke for pretty much everything and ensure that the entire dance is synchronized. Right? And that's all that you need, honestly. And I think the analogy I can give you here is, as an eagle, you can exactly figure out what's your right topography, and you can guide the person who is on the ground that, hey, take a right from here because there's a cliff, right? But the person who is walking on the street, he doesn't know where the right land is, how the topography is landed out, right? So as a product manager, that's what you need to do. You need to be able to be an eagle, keep hovering, figuring out if the people on the ground are moving in the right direction. If not, you can give them a signal that, hey, you're moving in the wrong direction. The enemy is coming. Please, please save your ass. Go to the left, go to right, or stop, whatever the case is, right? That's what your role is. And when the time comes, you can swoop in and you can save the day. Okay. But yes, to be able to do that, you need to develop your own skills. Yeah. By the way, Akash, in certain cases, you need to be very, very technically savvy. For example, if you're choosing to be in a very technical company, let's say Postman, for example, right? Postman or AWS or Google Cloud, for example, or Azure, for example, you better be very technical, right? You need to be aware of how things move and everything else in between. You cannot be getting by, right? Mostly you will not even get in if you're not technically savvy enough.
Thanks for those insights, Talvinder and Satinder. Yeah, thanks a lot, guys.
Awesome. Mohammed Shakil has a question. Can you give that course link with what you were talking about earlier? Priyanka or Piyush, perhaps you can share the link with Shakil.
It's sharing.
Okay. Yasha has a question. Should the PM be also part of the tech team internal stand-ups? Yes, please try to. Right. That way you'll always be in sync with what's happening. At least that is my suggestion. Satinder, what do you think?
This is so the question is clash between program and project management, right?
No, the question is, should the PM be also part of tech team internal stand-ups?
See, it depends. PM has a lot of other responsibilities also. So what I believe is I don't follow all the things which are written in Scrum manifesto and all. I would say that the technical team needs initial handholding. So for initial few phases, you need to be with them and explain the product, explain up to a use case level, and make sure that all the doubts are cleared. So I personally done that I used to be attending these calls or sessions every day. But over a period of time, when the development starts and they are on their own, then you can do it alternate days or 2 times a week or once per week also. That is okay. But initially, I would say that you need to be with the technical team and handhold them, make sure that they're all concerns. The important thing is, and as I said, ownership mindset. The developer should understand clearly what is written in your product note and what is going in product manager's mind. If there is a difference in that, then we will become like we will be a subject for any meme on internet. That you would have seen that you have asked for a horse and the output is something else. So that is very important. So initially, yes, you should become part of the daily scrums, at least for 1 week or first 2 weeks, and then it is it depends upon requirement and how complex the situation is.
Absolutely. So do realize that you are not an expert in technical architecture. You are not doing that. You're the whole purpose of you being part of that stand-up initially, especially, is you're ensuring that the team has interpreted or understood your spec properly, right? They've understood the nitty-gritties. There's a good chance you might not have clarified things very, very well. And that could lead to misunderstanding and whatnot. So you just want to ensure that the team has picked up the right stuff and they do not have any doubts, that then they can let them be on their own, right?
Yeah.
And then you can maybe attend 1 or 2 in a week. That will be okay.
Yeah,
but
you're
keep
not
attending.
Yeah, you're not owning the technical architecture, and I would suggest you don't own it also, because it is somebody else's stuff. And sometimes it gets political, and sometimes people feel offended also from a technology domain, that why are you coming in my area? But yes, you are responsible for that, but make sure that you are supporting that technical person or technical team, but not directly responsible for the design of the architecture. End to end, you should make sure that if there is a critical box that is missing or not. For example, let's say you have designed an architecture, and or the architect comes and says, okay, this is my architecture. You will just see on the top of it and say, okay, will it solve all my use cases or not? If there's a critical use case, for example, let's say a service upgrade, but the architecture doesn't support it, then you have a say in that, but you are not owning all the boxes in the design.
Right. Aman has a very interesting question. So what is product life cycle, and what are the pain points for PM in product life cycle? Satinder, will you take that question?
Yeah, so that's a very, very broad question. So there are a lot of pain points, and that is, if there are no pain points, then there is no need for a product manager. Kids would do the job. So product life cycle is basically, say, there are two parts. There is a product life cycle from a marketing point of view, and there's a product development cycle, which is from a product development point of view. So when you have an idea and you want to take that idea to want to commercialize that idea, that is called product development process, or sometimes it is also called product development cycle, which has multiple stages. Like you ideate, then you do a kind of a feasibility study, high level checking with customer, create all the hypotheses and all, then you create an MVP version of it, quick dirty version, maybe low fidelity wireframes and all, and then you do all the business validation and start the actual development. After development, you basically test and launch it, and then comes your product life cycle, where you are scaling it up. You are doing a beta trial, you are validating a lot of more hypotheses. You're also adjusting the product experience, and any initial customer feedbacks or bugs, you are fixing it up, and then you invest your real advertisement dollars. You start your ATL BTL campaigns, and the product scales up. When the product scales up, it takes there's a phase of scaling up, and then it reaches maturity. And then there are two things: one, either it might decline, or there is a next roadmap of the product, and this is all your product life cycle. So each phase has different pain points, and it will be difficult for me to list down all those things, but yes, product managers face different challenges and different hurdles in each of these phases. But since the discipline is evolved now, and most of these situations have already happened, so there are approaches and tools to solve it. So of course there are pain points, and a product manager should know what can go wrong in each of these phases, and should be paranoid enough to make sure that he thinks 2 or 3 steps ahead and find out solutions in advance, be proactive in each and every phase. So it is important. That skill is more important than knowing all the pains. There will be pains, and there will be a lot of pains which we don't know even today, because it is very contextual to that industry and that company. So that is something which you need to know at a higher level, what these phases are, what are the expectations for each phase, what goes in each phase, what are your responsibilities in each phase, what is the exit criteria of each phase. And then after that, if something comes, your experience will teach you that how to handle that kind of a pain point, which is out of the regular knowledge that is imparted as part of the product management discipline.
So I think I'll just add one little thing, which towards Satinder side, I think the biggest pain point for a PM in product lifecycle is to know which phase you are in.
Yeah.
It's the hardest thing to know, right?
Yeah.
Your heart will say, I think I'm progress to the next phase.
Yeah.
And your mind will, please be real.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to skip phases also. So you expect that you are going in phases, but management mandate comes or something happens in the industry that you have to skip and quickly launch. So
it's the hardest thing to know that which phase you are in, and so yeah, that's the one thing that you need to really figure that things out on. Okay. If someone is, Bhirup has a question, very good question. In fact, if someone is working with a domain specific product, that's a fintech, for example, how easy or difficult is it to transition to a product manager role in a different domain? Well, in my case, I'll give you some. So I have moved in multiple domains. Okay, so I was doing my venture from 2011 to 2015, which was into travel, and that to a very particular fashion of travel, which was experiences, activities, and things to do, which is now a big hot buzz. At that time, it was considered a foolish idea. Uh, uh, So from that, I moved to fashion. From that, I moved to hospitality. And from that, I moved to higher ed. Right. So I'll not count higher ed because this is something I'm doing on my own. But the two jobs that I picked up, the two jobs were in completely different fields. One was in fashion, one was in hospitality. And I think I was able to do that because all in all, I ensured, or at least my whatever I used to write on the internet or whatever I used to present was very horizontal. You know, I'm a generally very curious guy. I have a very voracious appetite of just reading up anything and everything, and somehow I'm able to connect the dots as well. So, you know, so uh, I was able to connect the dots. I mean, I was able to impress the people at OYO, and I was able to impress the people at the fashion company as well. So to answer your question in a nutshell, like, as per my experience and from seeing our students transitioning from a completely different field to a completely different field, I think the answer comes down to, have you built out your generic skills good enough? You know, generic skills in product management are you able to have you built product problem solving skills? Have you built out critical thinking skills? Have you built out um, skills around identifying user empathy, user research, etc., etc.? Have you built that out? Because those are generic skills, irrespective of you are in supply chain or you're in fintech or you're in fashion or you're doing, I don't know, some social media app, whatever the case is. You need these generic skills in place, right? Now, once you have this in place, that is when you will need additional top-ups for that particular field. If you're in social media, then you better improve your analytics skills better than anybody else. If you're in supply chain, you better improve your your service design skills very, very well, because that is what is needed. I typically give an example very often about this. Um, for those who are from India, perhaps will be able to relate. When you give a competitive exam, right? Almost always you will look for at least making the average, at least getting to the benchmark. That okay, am I getting at least the benchmark, right? Now, if you're getting the benchmark, you will get the most common seats in the most common exams. You'll get through those most common exams. But if you really want to get into the top of the top, like you want to be in IIT or you want to be in NIIT, for example, you need to be above average and really good, right? Same thing here. If you want to jump from one domain to another domain, at least ensure that your benchmark is high enough that people will start considering that, okay, this guy is actually good. Let's just see if he understands anything about our domain or not. The problem is most people will not even give you a chance to speak if you have not demonstrated that, hey, I'm a product manager. I happen to be working in hospitality. I happen to be working in fashion, but I'm good for anything. You need to showcase yourself like that. Otherwise, just like in entertainment, right? You bucket certain singers to sing only one kind of songs, right? Or actors to act in certain kind of movies. Similarly, you will be predisposed that okay, this person is good only for this, nothing else, and you do not want that. It is hard, but it is very doable. Satinder, your opinion?
Yeah, absolutely. I think product managers are, there's something called T type personalities. So product managers are T type personalities, generic enough. They know almost some aspects, nuggets of everything, but they have a deep product management skill and domain expertise in one of these industries. But yes, these T's can be shifted, and if your base is good enough and you know the portable skills are there, then knowledge in a industry can be gained. It typically is 3 to 6 months of cycle. First 3 to 6 months you will be understanding the industry and knowing the jargons, nitty gritties, and the dynamics of the industry. But I have seen people moving from telecom. So when in 2016-17, a lot of telecom companies went out of business, and a lot of my ex-colleagues, they have moved to from telecom to loans business, fintech, credit business,
Correct.
Ola and Uber cabs. So all of them, they were typical telecom VAS product managers, but they had seen this journey of launching a product and scaling it up, the growth hacking aspects of product management, and they were able to move a transition. Now, as Talvinder said, sometimes you don't get that opportunity. So there are ways to position yourself well in that direction, and that is what is taught in the course also, that how you position yourself, what are those key hacks you need to do on LinkedIn and in your daily on a daily weekly basis, so that you are preparing up for that kind of a job. If today you are working in, let's say in fintech, and you want to move to education space, so there are few things you need to start doing it. It's not that today you are working in fintech and on Monday you want to get a job in education. It might not happen. If you have references there, it might happen, but if you don't have, then there's a gap. You need to bridge that gap by creating right content, taking the right courses, or maybe doing some kind of a prototype of a product that you really feel would be relevant to that industry. And we have the people I've taught in this course. There are some people who are being interviewed by companies from a very different domain. So what I tell them is that you make product presentation so good that the product head feels like this is like a person who is sitting with me and has been working with me for the last 3-4 years. So you can bridge that gap if you have the right product management skills, right thinking, and then you start gaining slowly knowledge about that industry, start reading about it, maybe start writing on LinkedIn, and there is a structured approach to bridging this gap of domain expertise.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sure.
So it's
Thanks.
possible. Okay. Awesome, Aviru. The next question is by Danish, which is, you have drawn a lot of inspiration from Swiggy in this talk. So do you consider Swiggy a leading product innovative player in the food tech industry? Dude, I am a big foodie. So I think I open Swiggy more times than Instagram. So you can imagine why I talk about Swiggy quite a lot. And I actually like Swiggy a lot in terms of its product and product innovation overall. They came in a very crowded market, extremely crowded market, which already had a big brother who was dragging its feet like a dinosaur, and to wake a dinosaur from its slumber and make them run, like you literally made I forgot the name of the giant dinosaur into a T-Rex, where at least the competitor is running, right? Zomato figured out that they need to do something more than the scanning menus. So I really like Swiggy overall, and that is why I think I keep considering them as a true leading product innovator in food industry. I think they did a lot of fancy things for the very first time. Okay, you are from Swiggy. So Danish is an ex-Swiggy employee. Do you still get credits, by the way? Any food coupons? I don't mind getting some. Can
Not
tell
any-
you, yeah. For a fact, there is a lot of product modification happening on a daily basis. That is true. I can see that. I can see that there's a lot of things happening. I think now they're somewhat lacking because I think Zomato has increased their iteration cycle quite a lot. Their UI, etc. They are putting a lot of effort. But Zomato being Zomato, they have so much of stuff to show on their app that they kind of end up confusing the users. While Swiggy just has one thing. Actually, not anymore. Swiggy also is doing a lot of things, but somehow they have been able to so far hold the fort in like keeping the focus very clear.
Correct. They
Okay.
diversified into other products. Now they are focusing on other things.
Exactly. Now everybody's going to do groceries and everything else, right? But still, thankfully, when I have to order food, I know where is what till now, right? Unless some product manager Swiggy wakes up that no, let me show that I'm worth it, and I'm going to change bloody everything. That's when I think I'll switch to Zomato. Okay. The next question is by Aman. Is 4Ps or Porter's 5 forces play significant role for product development or any other important approach required for product development? It does. These are I think classic management concepts uh, which you need to really understand. The unfortunate thing is because they become so common. Or for example, SWOT analysis. You're like, SWOT. Who the hell is going to do a SWOT analysis? But actually, if you really invest the time in doing those things, you will be able to benefit in your regular day-to-day product management activities, right? Having said that, yes, they are somewhat dated and some of them do not exactly apply in the digital world. But for example, knowing Porter's 5 forces will help you to consider all the possible competitive forces that might come into play, which otherwise you might not be able to structure very well, right? Honestly, most of these management concepts in my mind at least are commonsensical, most of them, okay, which is why a lot of people do not need management skills and they are still able to run very, very large corporations like dropouts and whatnot, right? um, uh, most of these frameworks were created, at least this is my humble opinion, and I'm no expert by any chance, were created to essentially structure very ambiguous ideas. What is competition? It's very hard to really, you can debate as much as you want, right, on so many drinks. But when you talk about, when Porter's 5 forces just makes it very easy to comprehend. Okay, there are 5 things, right? 4P, similarly, it makes something very ambiguous. It gives a shape, a structure, a visual identity that when you say 4P, everybody is imagining the last 4P diagram that they saw, or the last four Porter's 5 forces that you saw, right? So I think that's the magic of having good frameworks, good structures in your mind, because otherwise we are entropic, right? We are used to producing more and more entropy. So anything that can reduce entropy around you is worth using, and that is what I do with these frameworks. Satinder, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. So, in fact, the entire discipline of management is based on structuring ambiguous information into a way that it is usable. So these tools are portable so that your thinking improves. You are able to think in a holistic, comprehensive, as well as deep way. But you should not say that okay, I have got this problem. Let me apply Porter's 5 forces, or I want to create a marketing plan. Let me go and create a 4P diagram first. So that is not the approach. You should use them to think, but at the end of the day, you should think what is the exact problem that you're solving and what is the right tool for that. So just because you have a hammer, you should not start using or thinking everything is the nail. So there are a lot of tools now. There's a at least 30 plus tools I know which are there from a management perspective, but you can't apply those tools directly. You need to use those tools to improve your thinking, and then come back with your approach. You create your own presentation format and say, okay, this is the way I'm going to create a marketing plan, but there are nuggets and there are aspects of all the 4Ps covered in that, or maybe you might have a 5th P also in that. So don't use these things in a literal way. You should know them. You should know them to make sure that your thinking and your data collection and everything is structured. But yes, don't just show off in the team and say, okay, I know 4Ps, I'm going to create a marketing plan based on 4Ps. By the way, I've seen that people doing that even at a CMO level, and it doesn't work well. So.
Okay, the next question is from Vidit. Satinder, why don't you take this question? What are some of the diligent practices a product manager should adopt or follow to position and negotiate with senior leadership team when there is not much data backing your features or ideas? Any example from your experience? You didn't have enough data, you have to defend it.
Okay, so there are sometimes you don't have data because you are trying to do something which is very new. So first of all, it's whenever you are making presentations to senior leadership, I believe in that concept of elevator pitch, which is like the concept should be as simple and the solution should be far more simpler. That in an elevator you should be able to explain it to a senior leadership, and that will not happen in the first go. You have to create a solution and a problem and a solution, and then do the second order thinking, try to refine it 3 or 4 times. And that is what I also do. If I have to make a presentation, first of all I make it on piece of paper or on a whiteboard, and I try to refine it 3 or 4 times and then take it to the leadership and say, okay, this is my solution, this is my approach. So that is number one. Second is your communication skills play a very important role in that. And third is which is where I'm going to answer your question, which is that you don't have data, but you have some anecdotes. So if you are really going to represent or create a story in front of leadership, you need to probably go and talk to that customer, record some videos, create some focus group studies, and get some information from that customer. That might not be the most accurate information, but it is a discussion starter. And you use those anecdotes and say, okay, this is the product I believe we should invest in, or this is the direction we should go in. Why? Because this is a market opportunity. We have gone and done a focus group study with maybe 30-40 people or maybe 5 people in one geography, and the results have been positive. People are interested in or have shown interest or shown intent. That doesn't mean that the purchase will happen, but the next step is that we should probably extend this research further, or do a prototype and go with an actual prototype and see whether those people will get more excited or they will have a same level of excitement with a poster versus a product, if the excitement level is same, then there's a problem. So those are the things you should do to get buy-in from a senior leadership. So what senior leadership is doing, they are just looking for opportunities, and they want some confidence. They want confidence in person, and they want confidence in idea. They want more confidence in person than in idea, because a great idea with a poor execution skill is useless, but an average idea with great execution skill can make the difference, can actually create a good PNL. So coming back to the answer, important point is that you need to be structured and create an elevator pitch. Don't create a 30 slider presentation. Maybe 2 or 3 slides are sufficient. Second is, if you don't have data, create anecdotes, create hypotheses, go in the market, talk to an actual customer, and record their information, maybe a video, something. I have done those things also, by the way. I've recorded videos. I was in Aircel, and we were trying to launch a mobile money wallet in 2012, and we wanted board approval for some $2 million of investment, and the approval was going to come from Malaysia. So what I did, I went to down south and traveled to places like Kanyakumari, Madurai, Tirunelveli, and recorded on my feature phone, not even smartphone, that Samsung Java feature phone. I recorded videos. I interacted with there was always a Tamil translator in between, but I recorded some videos and then brought them back and actually showcased them in boardroom to get approval. So no data, no background. Telecom company getting into mobile transactional business or remittance business along with ICICI Bank. So no experience of that sector also. So we went there, and by the way, Nielsen was also involved in that, but they were into qualitative study. But I prefer recording videos and getting the actual thing, both from retailers, customers, and various other stakeholders. And we also got a lot of negative sentiment also, because people said, I don't trust telecom operators. They deduct my money without my permission, and I don't trust them with my wallet. What if happen? I have never done online transaction. What if I put the wrong number? What will happen? Will it get reversed? Because in bank I can go and ask the manager to reverse it, but here I don't have someone. So we got all those insights. I recorded them, showed it, and got the approval. Yeah. So there is always a way.
Correct. There's always a way. You may or may not have data. In fact, if you're going to do anything bold, you will not have data. Take it for granted. But what you will always have is a need that you can identify of your users. So you will not be coming up with you will not come up with a random idea, right? You are coming up with an idea because you have spotted some opportunity, right? The only thing then between the idea getting implemented is actually implemented and not implemented is you being able to articulate that opportunity and putting it out in front of people. So as you can imagine, somebody sitting in Malaysia will never be able to imagine what a Kanyakumari middle class person is going through, right? Why does he need this? And will never be able to figure it out, right? So that is why sometimes you will need anecdotes, sometimes you will need comparables, sometimes you will need competitive parity, sometimes you will need something else. You are doing it because you have a reason, right? You just need to figure out how to articulate that reason and put it in front of other people so that they get what you're talking about. Yeah. Okay. Abhinav has a similar question, which is how to manage upward execs who always want to get a feature delivered in 1 week. But how do we manage the expectation without saying a no? So, what do you do? How do you balance it? What do you think, Satinder? How do you do it?
Yeah, we as a product management, I would say army of product managers, we are always behind time. So most of the things, you will see that they are coming on, and Murphy law always apply in that also. So whenever an important day is coming or a long weekend is coming, you will always find a product problem or a new opportunity that leadership will have. And that is the way, because their job is to think, and they have much more exposure at a leadership level. They talk to many more people, diverse background of people, and they always come back with, I want to do it now only. So now the important point to do is that you need when they are saying it, sometimes you need to understand whether what is the personality of that leader, whether it is he's always in urgency, or he's showcasing that urgency because there's a genuine reason behind it. there's a possibility competition has done something, or there's a regulatory reason, or there's a government government involvement in that. So first of all, dissect the reason and find out that why is that happening. And if it is a genuine reason, then you really need to come back with a plan. Okay, you say, okay, I'm ready to do it, we can do it, and showcase the positive attitude and say, okay, we will do it. And then come back and say, okay, give me a few hours, maybe 2 or 3 hours, to come back with a plan. And in your plan, you should also have the kind of resource requirement that is needed to achieve it. Now, if a leadership is asking for a baby in 1 month, you really need to have that expectation set in a way that you can do it, but you need a different kind of expertise, and you need a different kind of resources. Now, and most of the senior leaders, they are reasonable, and that is the reason they are there. And they will either help you that way, or they will adjust their expectations. Okay, say, I can't invest this kind of money. I'm fine with, let's say, taking it in 3 weeks, provided you give me a plan. So your job is to accept the order and come back with a plan and say, okay, if you want to do it in 1 week, this is the approach I will follow. These are the baseline features. I might have to skip some of the good to have features. I will only go with the must have features. And if you really want a best in class product, this is the time it will take, with these kind of resources, and you will get support. And I've seen in my career also, there were always requirements overnight. You need to do it, and we did that because we were able to achieve, and we were able to turn around things over the weekend, working Saturday Sundays also with full rigor, because that was really important. There was a commitment made at a senior level to the market, and we were supposed to do that. And then what happens is, there are some compromises you have to do in product features, and you, over a period of time, keep building that up. You will say, on day zero, I will only come back with a basic page with sign up experience and basic experience or basic product information. And day plus one, I will add this feature. Day plus five, I will add this. And that is a plan you need to showcase, and you need to be honest with that. So if you have built that trust, and you have built that honesty with your leader, that person will trust you and will always come back with unrealistic expectation, because that person knows that you will be able to at least live up to that, and come back with a solid plan. But if that person comes up with a mediocre expectation, then it is not a justice to you also. So believe in your leader, and if they are coming with unexpected unrealistic expectations, you are fortunate. You should come back with a solid plan and say, okay, I will deliver it, and that is the way you will grow.
Absolutely. I think wonderfully answered, Satinder. Wonderfully answered. True. In a nutshell, I think whether it's 1 week, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, the idea is, given ample time and ample resources, anything can be achieved, right? So if they are giving you a 1 week deadline, try to find out why they are giving the deadline. Is it because they really have a deadline, or is it because they feel that this is what this particular thing is worth to me? That I don't want like the best of the breed. I don't want a pyramid or Giza pyramid made. I just want something simple to be done, right? So they don't have anything magical they don't have a very large expectation. So that's why that is all they feel that the team should be investing in. That the team should be investing only 1 week in it. In which case, it's best to set your expectations also correctly. That this is all that they need. So let me not go berserk and do everything under the sun, right? At the same time, if they are unrealistic about their goals, try to figure it out, just like Satinder said, and I'll not repeat it, but try to figure out what is the core goal that they really want to move, and if there is any other alternate route that you can perhaps use to achieve the same. Awesome. There are a couple of more questions, but unfortunately we have run out of time.
Yeah, we can take the last
Gracie,
one. Maybe we can take one more. So
we can take one more.
yeah, we can take
Okay.
one more.
So there is a very biased answer that I'm going to give to Gracie, which is, to grow PM career, what courses should one opt for with a PM experience and average educational background? Okay. Gracie, I can't recommend any other program except for mine, for a very simple reason, because we have been consistently delivering results, staying very quiet, delivering results, and being happy at that. Number one. Number two, I have a very unfortunate and sad statistic to share here. And that is about 28 to 30% of our students are actually graduates of other PM courses that you might have heard of. Very popular courses like Downgrade and all. It's a sad metric for me because ultimately somebody is paying for an education experience which they're not getting, and they are landing at our program, right? Um, so I think what we have done is pretty good. It delivers on what we promised, and so that's what I'll recommend, Gracie. Happy to chat with you in case you wish to, know more about the program. The next cohort is starting on 13th, by the way, in the able guidance of Satinder. Um, Vidit has a question. Yeah, Vidit has a. I think Vidit's question is the last question. Satinder, can we take it?
Yeah. Please, can you
Yeah, the
just
question
tell
is,
me?
AI is disrupting almost all industries, and with an advent of 5G, ways of working are going to be definitely new. What is the advice for product managers to keep up with the pace with respect to using AI? How
So
PMs should go about learning AI ML?
AI is so. If I understand correctly, the question is AI is disrupting every field, and
Yeah,
I heard 5G also in that. What is the linkage?
basically with 5G coming in and so much of data easily accessible, edge computing
Yeah,
being possible,
yeah,
and so on.
yeah.
So I mean, how do PMs keep up? With everything that is happening. How do PMs keep up? How do they learn? And how do we make changes to our method of building products if there is a need
Yeah,
for that?
yeah. Okay. So very, very interesting question, and I will be very honest with you on that front. Uh, Almost 3 months back, I was not aware about even Python language and what AI is all about. And I'm personally learning. I have also purchased a few books and few courses online. By the way, by the time Pragmatic leaders course on AI was not there, so otherwise I would have enrolled in that. So AI and 5G are very different technologies. AI is a bedrock of, I would say, computing. It's a bedrock of intelligence. And what we see that AI is helping in automation and other things. There are very baseline use cases, and that is what my knowledge says. But AI is a field. It's a computer science field. Things like robotics, vision, computer vision, NLP, speech recognition, everything is part of AI. So what you should, again, I would say that I'm learning because I like getting deeper into technology, and I have some time over the weekend. But normally, if you don't have time and you, but still I would expect that take it like another field, like what a product manager needs to know marketing, the way product manager needs to know marketing and some aspects of finance. I believe you should know AI also, you should know ML also. Go through some online courses, go through how a basic code is written in AI ML, what are the use cases of AI ML, how leading companies are solving product problems in AI ML. And that is I think sufficient enough for you to create a perspective and then come back to your product domain and say, okay, how you can apply AI/ML. And that is what, by the way, I am also doing it. I'm nowhere a competent person in AI. I'm just learning, but I know that this is the right approach that I'm following, because maybe 6 months down the line I will be implementing AI in the products I am going to do, and there will be developers who will implement it, but I will write requirements so that AI can uh, AI models and AI capabilities and ML capabilities can be used to implement that. Simple examples like a chatbot is running on AI. So there are a lot of capabilities that can be done if you know these concepts very well. 5G is a connectivity capability. It's a much advanced capability, and 5G is not going to bring just high speed. 5G is going to fundamentally shift the way we communicate. Now we will not know, because for us it would be faster speed and faster bandwidth, but we will also see that the real internet of things and the real edge computing is going to happen because of 5G. There will be a lot of industrial use cases that will come. So you will be able to see robotic surgeries, you will be able to see robotic controls of cranes and other things. And probably, I believe, planes can take off and land if you have 5G networks without pilots. Pilots are required, but they will be sipping their coffee when the plane is going to take off. So a lot of use cases are going to come. And it is good if you again know the capability and the power of 5G. You know the basic concepts. For example, if you are working in, let's say, supply chain, you are not at all connected to 5G. But if you know that, okay, with 5G I can, and you have robotics, which is an AI concept, And with 5G, I can control those robotics in a very controlled environment, and I can actually make my entire plant or my supply chain fully automated without you just need one man and one dog to manage your entire supply chain. Dog, because dog will keep the man awake. So those are the things that if you know, you can actually build a lot of uh, specific user specific use cases, and you can bring value to your domain. And that is what I am also doing. So there's nothing harm in learning it. Don't shy away from it that it's a complex concept. It is not. You go, there are some amazing courses now to make it very simple. And I think you should invest time seriously in learning these concepts well.
Absolutely. I think I'll just have a couple of lines to add to this. I think what is happening with AI. So AI is now becoming part of the mainstream. It's been about 2 years, 3 years that is becoming part of the mainstream. It's very, very, very similar in terms of its curve as 10 years back, exactly 10 years back, 2007, 2010, when mobile was entering the mainstream. Right? A lot of people a lot of people laughed it away that mobile is a fad, it will just go away, etc. You can't do real things on mobile and stuff like that. It's just for fun and entertainment and media and stuff, right? Including very, very big leaders. You can actually search and you can find those interesting anecdotes. So I think AI is entering exactly the same void. The interesting thing is that in 2020, thanks to COVID as well, that people had a lot of time in developing a lot of things and generating a lot of digital data, which is effectively what is needed for AI and ML. So much of digital data has been produced that now it is a good amount of corpus of data is available to make really good, useful, and usable algorithms. Right? Algorithms are nothing but without data. Okay, without data, they're crap. They're nothing. And now there's so much of digital data available. In the past 10 months, in the entire world was using digital stuff. So you can just imagine the amount of data that is available to all the biggies, that they can really do wonders in the next couple of years. In fact, you will see not just a couple of years. Actually, I think COVID would have reduced the timeline for AI induced products by at least 1 or 1.5 years easily. The amount of breakthroughs that have happened for vaccine discovery, supercomputers to this and that, vaccine discovery is not an easy thing. It's a massively complicated problem, right? And it requires computing, it requires AI, it requires so all of that computing that happened, all of the new stuff that came up, you will start seeing that in the next 1.5 years tops. Maximum by next December, you're like, oh shit, it was so much in this 1 year. Yeah. So as a PM, I think start preparing right now. Do not prepare for becoming an AI engineer, but try to figure out what is an AI pipeline looks like, what an ML pipeline looks like. How do you get this data? Where do you find such data? What kind of algorithms can you run? There is plenty of material out there if you really want to toy around with things. There's plenty of material on TensorFlow. On Google is producing a lot of material around it. TensorFlow, Playground, etc. There's plenty of stuff out there. Try to use any one of them and try to learn from it. And if you're still stuck and you are willing to invest some money on it, then let us know. We do have a program for designed specifically for product managers. Yeah. So folks, I hope that was the last question. Yes, that was the last question. Awesome. We covered everything. So once again, everyone, thank you for being in the session. Thank you, Satinder, for the lovely chat and for being so candid about everything that you shared. Folks, thank you so much. For some of you, it was early morning. For some of you, it is late night. And thank you for being here. The next cohort and the last cohort of this year, this awesome year, is on 13th of December. That is 3 days from today. It will be taken by Satinder. And this will be the last cohort of this year, as well as the next cohort from the next year is going to be slightly on a higher fees. So make the most out of this. I mean, that's the best we can do in 2020. Unfortunately, we can't give you discounts. Thanks to 2020 again. So let us know if you want to talk to me or talk to Satinder. Let us know. We would be happy to chat. Irrespective of whether you want to join the program or not, we are always there to help the next wave of product managers who want to make it big. Yeah. Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you, everyone. Stay